Hit record. This is the second iteration of Roundtable. Trying to settle in and get a good little structure we like here. So really what we did last week and what I wanted to kind of do is company updates, industry updates, and then kind of get into a discussion topic. We have a topic, but agents can bring up whatever they want, whatever you're dealing with, whatever you're struggling with. If you had an issue that blew up in your face or something, whatever's going on in your business, you are not the only one dealing with it, and you're not the only one who's had to try to solve it. So let other people who do a bunch of business, or let other people who had that issue before, let's talk about it and let everyone learn. So that's kind of the idea. So I'm going to start with just kind of company updates. Hopefully everyone received our Copper Creek monthly newsletter. May at the Creek went out yesterday. And so we're going to go through a couple things, say congrats to some people, but talk about our company events. Today is the 7th. We're doing our roundtable. Next Thursday is our compliance lunch and learn. We're going to be talking about the new Senate Bill 1217 that just got passed. It is still waiting to be signed by the governor, but it will make buyer broker any agreement not required. The state cannot says it is not required to. Cannot be required to sign an agreement prior to showing homes. So it kind of undercuts the NAR settlement from 2 years ago. And so we're going to talk about that and the nuances to it. Friday, the 15th, we have an investor meetup. Chris Kent and Zach Davis run an investor meetup. There's normally 10 to 20 or so investors here. Agents that want to be investors that want to network. You want to do stuff with investing properties or investors. It's a good place to come meet, talk to people. What's happening? Thursday, May 21st, the fourth Thursday of every month, we are doing agent orientations. So new agents that join, we're going to go through all of our systems, make sure you're logged in on everything, make sure you know how to access everything, you know all the cool tools that we offer. So that's Thursday the 21st. I misspoke. In the month of May, because of Memorial Day and because I'm going to be out of town Memorial Day, we moved our orientation and our sales lunch and learn to the same day. So that is the third Thursday of the month, the 21st. Orientation will be at 10, and then sales lunch and learn will be 11:30. And that sales lunch and learn, our very own Sydney Highfield will be talking about her buyer presentation, how to go through buyer need analysis and present the buyer process with her buyers. So that'll be a good one. She does a really good job of that. Some other announcements here I wanted to share. Our recruiting drawing. So I don't know if everyone knows about our recruiting drawing. Every agent that you refer to us that joins Copper Creek, we put your name in a drawing. And at the end of the year, we draw from that drawing and we give away a all-inclusive Mexico vacation. So really cool opportunity to say thank you for helping us grow and to share in the growth. So right now, Mr. Sean Darling he was pulling away with it, and then Eddie Pando caught up with him. Tina and Monica and Tim are all kind of the top 5. So this is agents year to date that have been referred to Copper Creek. Last year we grew by 80 agents. We grew by 75 agents. 80% of them were referred by other agents. So one way that I determine if we're doing a good job is if agents are telling other agents about us. So it means a lot. Just like in your business, a referral is huge. I consider agents joining us as a referral from you to us. So if you enjoy being here, tell as many people as you can about it. Miss Cindy is hosting or helping us host our Copper Creek Cares, first Copper Creek Cares event, June 6th. We are going to be volunteering at the Homeless Alliance. Hope everyone can make it. If you did not, have we posted on Facebook yet? Amy or Cindy is going to post on Facebook this week or next as we get closer. You can scan the QR code, and we have 2 options. One person can help prepare meals, and the other option is you can help serve meals. So we need people to do both. But we want to do, Copper Creek Cares is our community give back charity arm of the company. We want to do at least one event every quarter. We missed the first quarter, so we are doing second, third, and fourth quarter. So we have a couple of really cool ones coming up, but we're going to be volunteering at the Homeless Alliance. Logan does free headshots during our agent orientation every month. It's normally the 4th Thursday of the month. This month it is the 21st though. So he does them every month. So if you don't like your headshot last month, come back in with a new outfit.
Maybe for new agents or just
No,
for new
anyone in the company, yeah. Or go on a liquid diet or something, come back in, lose 10 pounds, whatever you need to do, guys. We do it every month, so we take advantage of that. Okay. In the interest of time, we're going to move on to the kind of the content and the topic. And as soon as Rob swallows the food, he just put it in his mouth. I'll invite him. I'll invite him back over here. Sorry, buddy. So I want to talk about the market, but I'll just talk about mortgage rates first. The two biggest things influencing the real estate market is going to be mortgage rates and market inventory. So we'll talk about both of those, but I'll let Rob with Weston team talk about what's kind of going on mortgage rate wise.
Yeah, not a ton of exciting news on this front. I've got a handout here. If you didn't get one, let me know. What it's basically telling us is kind of what we've all been saying. Recently with the Iran conflict, I guess you would call it, we did see a little bit of an uptick. It's just like everything else when it was new. It's frightening. We don't know what's going on. Now it's become the new normal in a way. So we've seen that taper down just a hair. But Oklahoma, just like any time we talk about rates and market, it's a little more stable. We have, and so like current rate environment for now in the next 30 days, not seeing or anticipating any big changes. Your conventionals are sitting anywhere from the low 6 to 6.5 in that general range. Maybe 2.5 months ago, before we were really getting excited because we had the conventional sitting at that, just getting under 6 for well-qualified buyers, which is huge because that's kind of that mark that we want, that 5 in front, move some people off the fence. Chances are by the end of the year, all predictions that most analysts are saying is that we will get back to that by year's end. So it really comes back to is it a good time to buy or not? And the answer is going to be yes. Because if you go back 12 months from now, is affordability better because of the rates? 100%. And when last year the norm was in the 7 to 7.25, things like that. Well, if you look at where we're at now, we can very easily be a point and a quarter better. That's a big change in 12 months. So moving forward, right now, it's the best time it's to reinforce is what do you think is going to happen if you have somebody who is on the shelf on rate. Is that going to be, it sounds great, maybe your payment's just a little bit low, you pay a little bit less in interest, but I'm going back to, hey, guess what the first thing to disappear is? The seller concessions. Do you need them? If so, this is the perfect time. Do you want to, a lot of people haven't heard about appraisal gaps and paying more than what the asking price is, multiple offer situations, all of those things. So if you think about it in that terms, and it really depends, is if you can educate who you're talking to about these different angles instead of this number, this rate that we're looking at, like, hey, that might not be perfect, but the great news is if you're buying now, you avoid all of these things, you can get better deals, you can get money from the sellers, and you can go back and refinance this rate. But you can't go back and get the price of the house that you're looking at today. If it's $200,000 today, rates go to 4%, there's gonna be 20 people trying to buy that house. That $200,000 house might go for $230,000, $240,000. And when we're getting concessions to help with cash to close, you're gonna have to have all of your closing costs, your down payment, and an appraisal gap. And a lot of people in the room have been through that. So market-wise, we are in a much better space than we were 12 months ago. And they're predicting rates to continue to kind of slide down. This small interruption with the Iran business, it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? So it's not gonna be an overnight, in 2 months, 3 months, we're gonna see rates go lower. rates don't normally do that unless something catastrophic happens, like a pandemic. So if you don't anticipate one of those, but it's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
Okay, so, rate wise, the motivation to buy, it should all be positive, in my opinion, at this time, so. A little bit more detail on the handout, if you have questions, you wanna talk to me about more specific things, or more specific loans, things like that, just let me know. But everything is good, and that's something we need to get across to people in the market, is it's the education of what's going on now versus what could be happening if you get what you want. You get rates in the fours, great, here's what'll happen. So I think that's really important right now.
I think more than, I mean, people obviously want low rates, but I think more than low rates, people want consistent rates. I think what scared a lot of people in, anywhere from 03 to now is by the time when you go get pre-approved, a rate might be one thing and it could jump a point from the time you actually go find a house. So consistency is or predictability in the rate market is gonna be more important, or as important as just it being low. We'll kind of talk about what I think the market's reacting to rate consistency here, but you can just look at it over the last 3 or so years down here as it shot up in late 22, and it's kind of been pretty big ebbs and flows, but it's, again, when the war started, there was a shock, but it's kind of coming back down to where it was prior to the war. So consistency is what's going to get people off the fence and into the market as they start to wrap their head around this is the new norm. I think low sixes. And just looking at rates or like rate locks that we're doing, there are people in the high fives and low sixes. I mean, these are mid sixes, but for some of these, but most of what you're doing is probably low sixes and high fives.
Yeah, I mean, your government loans are easily getting there. The kind of benchmark is if conventional loans are there, then you already know your governments are even better. And that's where your higher price stuff, they're going conventional typically, so. Yeah, I mean, we were on path for it, but yeah.
I think if you've got someone on the fence wanting to wait in case, who was it? Was it Tim, Melissa? Someone had someone that was just like, I think they're going to drop 50 points in the next month or so I'm going to wait. And one, you're just gambling. But the reality is, if things drop into a point where you feel like you're getting a good deal now, either something really bad happened and you don't want to buy a house anymore, or 2, 3 times as many buyers came into the market, and now that house you want is not available, or we're paying 10% more for it. So there's no perfect scenario. Everyone wished they could go back to 2007 and buy as many houses as you could. Well, guess what? There was no money back then. You can't buy them, right? So it's like when you're in a bad situation with good deals, you don't have the money or the guts to go buy stuff. So what I always tell clients, if the rate's preventing you from affording a house, don't do it. If you can afford it regardless and you need the house right now, don't try to time the market. Time in the market is better than timing the market, if that makes sense. I'd rather buy it, let the appreciation go up, let the rates come down, and refinance if I need to later. But don't try to time the market. Because if you do, there is a million other buyers literally on the sideline waiting for that rate to come down too, and now you're competing. Does everyone know about mortgagenewsdaily.com? I go out here all the time and look and see where stuff is. It's just good representation. Everyone gets quoted different rates, obviously based on your credit score, based on your DTI, down payment, all that, but this is good rough estimates. You can always get something lower normally if they're a good buyer, but it tells you where the market's at.
Brett, I was gonna add in, one thing that is pretty unique about what we're dealing with now is I've been doing mortgages for a long time. I've never had more conversations about rates than I have in the last 2 years. Because it is a hot button. It's big clickbait. It's rates. And whether we agree with that being, I mean, if you do the math, you can see, well, hey, you're 6% versus your 5.5%. The payment's not moving a ton, whatever the case is. So I think that's why it's important to have at least that, a little bit of knowledge or enough knowledge to get them to somebody like me who can explain it in detail. Is I understand that you've now been programmed that rate is the problem, but here's some reasons why that may not be the case. or, hey, here's what will happen if what you're being told constantly on all of your social media news, everything, rate. Well, then maybe it's our job to kind of educate them on, there's a little bit more to it than just that number.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, what waiting actually looks like. So, okay, the other part of this, each week or each month, I want to show historical statistics, kind of let you know where the market in Oklahoma City is, because again, everything's going good. Headlines does not get clicks and does not sell, newspapers. So everything you read is going to be coming crash, rates about to spike, war, whatever, right? So we actually have a very interesting local market here, and what's been happening over the last 60 days really is super interesting. So, does everyone know how to find market stats, info stats here?
Is that showing time?
Yeah, it's through the MLS. So when you log into the MLS, this is what you see.
Yeah.
You come down here to info stats, and this gives
Oh,
you.
I just go through showing time, it's the same.
Oh, does it have it?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, but that's good to know, it's right there.
Yeah, it's a quick link. I didn't know that.
It
I didn't
probably
know.
saves me 2 clicks.
Yeah, there you go. So you can manipulate some of the criteria and see different data. So like Corey was talking about, he's got a house in the 700s that's kind of been sitting, and so I would go in here and kind of filter some of these things to see what are houses above 700 or above 500 doing in the zip code. You can be more specific, but I have all the filters gone, so this is just the generic market. This is just the Oklahoma City metro market.
Those graphs are good to show your sellers and that.
Whenever I do listing
Let them
presentations,
know what the market's actually doing.
That's
What
right.
their friends tell them that it's doing.
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah, or what,
Yeah.
or what Google's telling them, or Chat
Right,
GPT
yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
So I screen grab these, because I use these statistics to predict how long it will take to sell their house at this
Yeah.
price. So I pull screen grabs so they can see exactly what I'm looking at.
I pull up the website and click around with them and let them.
Oh,
kinda-
on this?
And so it shows that I'm not just like printing off something
Yep.
old, but yeah, they like to see that.
Yeah, I think that's good. Anytime, when you're talking with sellers and buyers too, I always like to talk about how we're gonna make data-driven decisions. It makes you sound smart, but it's not your fault. If a house isn't selling, then it's not your fault, it's the market, it's the
Right.
data.
You gotta justify
yeah.
your job.
That's exactly right. And I always tell them, if an agent or anyone tells you, I feel like we should drop the price, or I feel like we should do this or that, then be careful, because they don't know what they're talking about. So you want to try to make data-driven decisions. Here's why you should offer this price. Here's why we should list it at this price. And then same thing, it's like, hey, we got an offer. I had a newer agent call and say, we're priced at, I don't remember what it was, 300, and we got an offer at 290. Is that good or bad? I don't even know if that's good or bad. And so you can go in here and see statistics that the average house sells within 2.75% of the list price. So you can tell your sellers, we're within the range of what the average home should sell for. Whether it be 700,000 or 150,000, on average it sells within about 3% of its list price. So that's what you would consider an acceptable offer. So you can use all this data to show them, I'm not just trying to get you to sell the house so I can make my commission and go on to the next thing. This is the data, so it's always good information in here. So the main things I like to look at, there's a bunch, I only look at about half of them, is average sale or median and average sales price, new listings hitting the market, total homes for sale, which is kind of the same thing as month supply. So total homes for sale, pending sales, closed sales, days on market, and shows per pending. Shows to pending. So these are kind of the main 5 or 6 that I like to look at. So just looking at each one, we saw a drop in the median and average sales price, which is kind of odd when you look at some of the other stuff, because we're seeing days on market fall. We're seeing inventory stagnate. We're seeing pendings shoot through the roof. But we're seeing prices fall, which is kind of a little bit of a contradiction. That might tell me something along the lines of properties that have been on the market for a long time are actually starting to go under contract, and we're actually seeing discounted prices go under contract versus original list prices based off comps. So a small little dip this month. The other annoying thing about this data is next month, this month's data will be adjusted.
I just got this thing and I'm not happy.
So like I was looking at last month's data this month, and they adjust. So some of these numbers will be off as more data comes in. But so seeing average prices stagnate is interesting. It's only been 1 month, and we saw a sharp increase from the beginning of the year. So we'll see what next month looks like as far as pricing goes. So this is the interesting parts. There we go. Want it to be as dramatic as possible. So this, what's happening? Get that off there. Okay, so new listings. So this is kind of where it's been a little crazy. And if you only saw half this story, you could panic. But if you see the whole story, it makes me feel pretty good about what to expect over the next couple of months. So this is a two record-breaking months in a row. The most new listings that have hit the market ever in the history of Oklahoma City have hit the market over the last 2 months. Initially, that sounds scary, right? Inventory building up. Buyers have tons of choices. They're going to make crap offers. They're going to be slow to make offers, all that kind of stuff. But when you combine that with homes for sale just barely ticking up, just about 400 homes going up, and we have pending sales at its like 4th highest that it's ever been in the history of Oklahoma City. So we saw this last month, and it was consistent again this month. We're seeing a huge, unprecedented, record-breaking surge in supply, and a huge, unprecedented, record-breaking surge in demand at the exact same time. And I think it's a couple things. I think people are finally starting to get comfortable with the idea of rates. People have lived in homes long enough where they think they can sell and get out of their really low rate that they had maybe, or their high price point that they had, and now they can't afford it, or they don't want to live it anymore. A lot of impulse buys during COVID. I think sellers are slowly getting off the fence. And you couple that with some short-term consistency in the rates, people are, and all those sellers are most likely into the buying market as well. So I think we're just seeing sellers start to be comfortable with the market and get off the fence. And for many years, we were trying to find what that acceptable margin would be between what I have my mortgage at and what I'm willing to go get my next mortgage at. So if I have a mortgage at 3%, I don't want to go get a 7%, but 5.75, I'm okay with that. I can swallow that pill, right? So whenever we find out that acceptable margin is when sellers will start getting off the fence, selling homes, being okay buying homes, and then we're starting to see it. So again, I think it's a little bit of the market we're not just getting flooded with inventory or flooded with demand. It's an expansion of the market, which is interesting, and an economist might be able to give us a little bit more information on what's causing that, but we are seeing unprecedented levels of demand and unprecedented record-breaking levels of supply all happening at the same time. So that's what's cool is when you look at new listings going through the roof. So again, this is historically speaking, this is back to 2013. We are, what would that be? 500-600 houses in a single month larger than the largest month we've ever had new listings. Homes for sale, we're right at 8,000. The most homes we've ever had for sale in our market, ever. So again, that's scary. That would lead you to believe that we're moving into a buyer's market, and buyers have choice. Buyers can take their time. Buyers can get concessions. Buyers can do all these things. But then you look at the pending spike, and you look at month supply is stagnant. So for 3 months in a row, we've had the exact same month supply. 2 of those months, we've had record-breaking new inventory hit the market. So the market is absorbing the record-breaking inventory at the rate that it's coming on. So you might have heard us talk in the past, economists would call a balanced market. There's buyer market where there's tons of inventory. There's a neutral market where inventory is meeting demand. And then there's a seller's market where there's no listings and tons of buyers. So what economists would call a neutral or balanced market is 4 to 6 months of inventory, 4 to 6 months supply of inventory. We've not been above 4 since 2013. So Oklahoma City has technically, by the book, been in a seller's market since 2014. It just got insane during COVID, unhealthy. We had like less than a month. We had like 3 weeks of inventory on the market during COVID. So even with unprecedented levels of inventory and unprecedented levels of new listings coming on, we have not even reached 4. We've stagnated at 3.7 the past 3 months in a row. So again, I think a buyer saying, I can afford to wait, I can go make bad offers, I don't need to make an offer right away. While they do have more options, they do not have more time. I think they have as much time as they've had the last 2-3 years. It is still a seller's market, statistically speaking. And so if you have listings coming on, I think this tells us a couple things that I would talk to my sellers about. Good listings, here's the problem. It's good news, bad news, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller. Good news is days on market is falling. Houses are selling faster. Less people are having to come through it to see it. Month supply is stagnating, but we have the most competition you've ever had in the history of Oklahoma if you've ever sold a house. There are more options out there. So what that says is good priced homes that are marketed correctly, realistic pricing, sells. They sell and they're selling faster. Aspirational pricing is sitting on the market. And we're seeing sales prices fall because we're having a lot of price drops, I think. So price it right the first time, it's gonna sell. Aspirational pricing, where we have to come down, it's gonna sit longer. So, and then you're talking to your buyers about how, although there is more inventory, buyer demand is at near market highs. We're only about 100 or so pending short of being the most pendings ever in the history of Oklahoma City. So it's an interesting market. Seeing prices slightly fall this month, but also seeing days on market fall. There's some contradiction there with the pricing. The only thing that doesn't really add up is sales price. Everything else is we're just seeing the market expand. Not seller market, not buyer market, just grow. Just demand is peaking, supply is peaking. And if we do have rates just continue to trickle down close to 6, and you can get FHAs at 5.5 or 5.75 and conventionals at 6, I think very quickly, pending sales, buyer demand will even outpace record high listings if we continue to trickle down. So this, when you look at like, homes for sale.
There's so much pent up demand.
So much, and we're seeing it
I'd be
finally
interested
start to
see
uncoil.
The first time home buyer, you know what I mean, people that have just waited so long and finally, because they're saying like what average older age is buying first time.
Yeah, I think the average first time home buyer is 34, 36, something like that. But you see, this is what I always like to talk about, is like, is the market good or bad or whatever? The interest rates did exactly what they were designed to do. It cooled the market and allowed demand to catch up with supply. Supply to catch up with demand. Because you see homes for sale down here, we didn't have enough. We were really close to not having enough homes for sale, which is wild. You increase interest rates, it cools off the demand, supply catches up, and here we are still in a balanced to slightly seller's market still. We're right on the peak of a balanced seller's market. So interest rates did what they were supposed to, cooled off list price appreciation a little bit. You saw it was kind of angling right here, now it's kind of angling right there, so it's cooled off, it's plateaued a little bit, still growing. But we're by no means in any sort of stall or recession or bad market or anything like that. I think when you look at the market as a whole, your property might be stalled or in a bad market, but there's always gonna be houses that sit forever. There's always gonna be houses that sell right away. So I wouldn't let you get into the mindset that the market sucks, and I wouldn't let your clients get into the mindset that the market sucks. You need to educate them on what's actually happening, and you can create your own reality here if you're realistic with your pricing and realistic with your buyer expectations on what they can expect when shopping. Then you won't have buyers sitting on the fence forever, and you won't have sellers doing aspirational pricing, and we'll have properties moving. So 2 months in a row, it was very odd last month to just see new listings shoot to the moon. and pending sales shoot to the moon. We finally saw closed sales kind of catch up a little bit. So it's an interesting market. We're still low relatively to COVID on total closings per month, but we're seeing demand shoot through the roof. So, questions, thoughts, opinions?
When you're talking to clients, do you recommend trying to stick to the entire MLS just so it's more coherent versus, I feel like I've gone in the past, I've tried to narrow it down via zip codes and stuff, and it's just, I got so caught up in the weeds and so many different variables, I feel like just using the entire MLS is just a better overall picture.
So the problem, data, the more data, the better. So just like when you're comping a house, if there's 2 comps, that's not as good as if I had 10 comps, right? It gives me a much better idea. As you shrink down to zip codes, you get less data. And it's more dependent on that random month. You know, one house selling that month might skew everything. You know, one really high home.
Around here, and I tried by size, and I think if I stuck to the entire MLS, I'd be able to explain it a lot better.
Yeah, I think the more local the data, the better. So I do, when you're doing listing stuff, I try to dig down a little bit more, but just the generic market conversation, or if you're when you're looking at comps and stuff, I think it's better to be more hyper local. Obviously, stay in the community, stay in the neighborhood, all that kind of stuff. But when looking at like buyer trends, seller trends, pricing, I think the more you zoom out, you can get a better idea of it. But I do, when I'm doing listing presentations, I do go to the zip code. I pull the zip code, I pull the average shows to pending, and this is what I show them. I look at the average price. So the way you can look at this is go to your zip code, go to shows to pending, average, and the idea is in this zip code, I need to walk 15 buyers through this house before I get an offer, on average. So if the average days on market is 15, I need to get a showing a day. And if we're not getting a showing a day, we're behind the market. That's how you can read the market, right? Because most people, once it's on the MLS, they're like, I don't know, whenever we get an offer, we get an offer. You can read the market actively. If I expect 15 showings before I get my offer, and it's been 15 days, and I've got 2 showings, I'm really behind the market. I need to either increase condition or decrease price. And vice versa. And so that's the other thing is, someone posted this on the Oklahoma City Real Estate Professionals, or whatever the hell it's called. And it was like, when do you do a price drop? And someone's like, 2 weeks, 14 days, 17 days, blah, blah, like all this crap. And I'm like, that's absurd. That you can't apply a single number to that. It's if you list a house at $1 million and dropped it in 2 weeks, it's absurd. So you have to drop it accordingly based on the activity that you're getting, or based on the conversations you had up front, if you know it's what we call aspirational pricing. But that's when we make adjustments. When I know I'm behind the market is when we make adjustments. If I'm not getting the showings I need, the feedback I need, then we make price adjustments. But if your average days on market, the average days on market is 41. So why would you drop your price in 2 weeks if it takes a home on average 41 days to sell? That makes no sense at all. So that's why it's important to understand the data in your zip code. So if I'm listing a house in 73120, I can expect my house, if I price it accordingly, should get 15 showings within 41 days. Now some neighborhoods you can get real local and you see the neighborhood has like an average days on market of like 8 or something. You can get, if there's good data for that, but in general, zip code's gonna give you a better, so for this exact example, 41 days on average, 15 showings. What's that, 1 showing every 3 days? So if I'm not getting 2 showings a week, then after about 2 to 4 weeks, we're having a conversation. But if I'm getting 5 showings a week, we sit there until the offer comes in. And if we get 5 showings a week for 41 days and no offer, we're overpriced. Something's wrong with the house. Pricing's probably good, but there's something wrong with the house that we need to adjust for. So that's kind of how you want to look at this data. Show it to your seller so they know what to expect. That's the number one thing you can do as a listing agent, is show them what to expect. If you do it correctly, and the way I do it in the conversations I have each week, my sellers actually ask me if we're ready to drop the price instead of me having to ask the sellers, because they know what to look for. I've had the conversation with them 3 times before we list it, and then I have it every single week, and they know. So by the time I call them on week 3, they're thinking, what do you think? Is it time to drop the price? Yes, because they already know. It's not me calling with bad news. It's me telling what the market's doing. And it's super important. I hated listings for so long. You know, back when I got started, it was like almost 70 days on market when you got a listing. I hated listings, so they just sat there and I just got shit on for 70 days until it sold. And now, when you do it properly, communicate properly, it's it'll sell when it sells. If you price it right, it'll sell when it sells. Price it right, market it right, and then have the right conversations. What else, market-wise? Any questions, thoughts? Graham, nothing?
No, I like your swearing.
I'm a little offended. I'll try to tone that down. Sorry. I get so passionate when I talk numbers.
No shit.
Oh gosh. Okay.
I'm offended we didn't see any spreadsheets.
Yeah,
Matter of fact.
I got them.
Just waiting.
I got spreadsheets. How much time you got? Where'd I go?
Mark, we can have like a, I know when I was with Curtis, he had like kind of like a format of every Friday, you know, I send this data or I send this email. Is there something that you do for your listings that?
It kind of changed based on the person. You know, if someone wants to see something, I would, you know, there's different personality types. I always like to talk about this. There's a book called The Platinum Rule. Has anyone heard about it? Or is anyone familiar with DISC assessments? So it's kind of like DISC assessment. So there's the golden rule, which is treat everyone how you want to be treated. And then there's the platinum rule, which is treat everyone how they want to be treated. And so each personality wants to do and see different things. So some personality wants to talk for 30 minutes about their kids and then they're cool, they'll do whatever. Yeah, drop the price, sure, whatever, I don't care. Some people want to go to happy hour and talk about dropping the price, right? Some people send me a spreadsheet so I can see what we're doing. So it's just every personality is different. So if I have someone who I know is going to want to look at data, then I would send him the seller showing report from Showing Time. So it just shows any feedback that was given. And it's important for you guys to know you can call an agent, get feedback from them verbally, and then go input it into Showing Time. So it looks like it came from them. Because sometimes people will show a house and like that house smells and it was weird and we didn't like it. We didn't even make it through the front door, but they won't leave any feedback. And so you can actually get that feedback and input it into Showing Time. And then it's coming from the market. It's not coming from you. The market is telling us your house smells, and we can take action. We're looking for actionable feedback. So depending on the personality of the person, I try to send stuff if I can. Otherwise, it's normally just a phone call on Monday mornings. That's how I try to do my listings. Oh, I thought I heard someone. Good question. Yeah, Showing Time. I got it pulled up. Might just be able to show you how it logged me out. Does everyone know how to do seller reports in Showing Time? Familiar with that? If not, get with me after. I'll show you.
That's what I use for people that like data, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Some people are like,
Yeah.
they're not
But
gonna put it anyway.
here's the other thing. I brought this up in a CE thing we were doing yesterday about a pet peeve of agents, and it's lack of communication, especially when there's bad news to give. Worst thing you can do, especially when there's bad news to give, is not give the news. Hold it. Almost every bit of anxiety in your business and in your life normally comes from some unhad conversation. Think about that. It's almost always something that you should go talk about, should go do, should get off your checklist, but you're not, and it builds anxiety up. So anytime I have bad news, you can spend the whole day letting it ruin your day and call them at the end of the day, or you can knock it out and be done with it, and it's off your shoulders. So a lot of people are like, no showings this week, terrible open house, I don't want to call my seller. Guess what? No showings is feedback. No one coming through. I did the same stuff last week and got 20 people through this other house. No one came this week. That is feedback. Have that conversation with your client. And if you did everything right up front and you said, this is what we're expecting and this is what we're expecting, and if we don't get A, we're going to do B, and then I call them 3 weeks in a row and say nothing, then that is feedback. That's actionable feedback. But most of the time, they just put it on the MLS and stop talking to their client. And that's why agents have such a bad reputation for communicating. Same thing when communicating with other agents. if you got bad news or something like that, they just don't call you back or they text you. It's just like, just have the, be an adult. Let's have this conversation so we can all move on and do something. So yeah, communication is important, but having bad conversations is important. Anything else on numbers? No numbers, done with numbers. This is good stuff. Play around with this. Like you said, print it out, provide it. The reason I like talking about numbers, so Tom Ferry had a good quote. He said, and I'm going to repeat this probably every round table, so you're going to know it. Everyone can feel what's happening in the market. Good agents, everyone can feel what's happening in the market. Good agents know what's happening in the market. Great agents can explain what's happening in the market. So the more you know about these, and it doesn't have to be, you're not going on, any news and giving any updates, but if you can regurgitate some data to your client, it's going to create clarity in their mind and they're going to be able to take action. What causes people paralysis is if they don't know what's happening and they're afraid to make a bad decision. If you can give them some actionable data, or at least give them some confidence in you that you're guiding them and you know what you're doing, they're going to take action. But clarity creates action. And so if you can create clarity for your clients, then they're going to take action. So these things help you create clarity.
And does it update on the same day every month?
On the first of the month, the graphs update. And then around the 7th of the month, these reports update, but they have not updated yet. Frustratingly. Yeah, they're still on March. So April hadn't. So probably by the end of the day or tomorrow, these reports will update. So you can go to like March entire MLS report, and it kind of gives you a market breakdown. But like what I do, because there's just a lot here, and any one slide could tell a different story than other slides. So if you download this, who knows what I'm going to say? Put it into AI.
Put it in.
That's everyone's answer to everything.
Nope.
Download it and throw it in AI, and then ask it questions. Should a buyer buy right now? If someone told me they're afraid of interest rates, what should I say? If someone wants to wait till spring, what should I say? Put it in there and ask it stuff. That's what I said. I put it in here. I was looking at it. I have it overlay all the graphs so I could see them over time, how they all coordinate with each other. And then I said, give me a paragraph, and the topic is good news and bad news for buyers, good news and bad news for sellers. And so it kind of broke it down, and you can kind of provide that kind of stuff. So normally on the 7th or the 8th, this actual report comes out, and you can, again, drop it into AI, ask it questions.
Where do you find that? Do you get an email for that?
No, you got to go out to Market Stats.
Okay.
So you go out to Market Stats, and then you go, so it defaults to InfoSparks. You just go over here to Fast Stats,
Okay.
and then you can go into zip codes here, but housing supply overview and monthly indicators are the two that I like to look at. Because again, everything comes down, housing is a commodity. It's a consumer product because we live in it, but it is a commodity. It ebbs and flows with supply and demand. Everything comes down to inventory counts. There's high inventory and there's not enough demand, prices are going to fall. There's less inventory, high demand, prices are going to shoot through the roof. Very basic supply and demand rules. So you can look at these inventory, look at trends and all kinds of stuff. All right. Before I jump into, I had a topic I was going to kind of talk about a little bit of mindset and kind of influencing others a little bit. Is there anything anyone's struggling with, dealing with, want to fight? What time is it? Oh shit, it's already been an hour. Does anyone want to jump into a topic, or are we even, we started like 15, 20 minutes late. We can just end on numbers. I don't know if anyone wants to hang out and chat. We've been going for 40 minutes here. Let me see if there's anything super important. Hold on. Something I want to give you guys. All right, I'm gonna do one thing. We'll talk one thing for like 5 minutes. In real estate, more things are gonna go wrong than go right in life, really, right? Is anyone familiar with Stoicism, the kind of philosophic concept? Yeah, all right. You seem stoic. So stoicism is a bad definition of it, but it's essentially understanding that you can't control what happens to you. You can only control how you react. And so I kind of relate it to like thinking about your thoughts a little bit. Before something exits your head, run it through a filter first, instead of reacting, letting emotions or situations take control. And in real estate, we are supposed to be the level-headed third party in a transaction. The buyers and the sellers are supposed to freak out, not you, not the other agent. And so being in real estate has made me more of a stoic over the years. It's tested my patience and my everything. And so I think it's super important when you are about to have a conversation, getting in a conversation, or you're in a conversation that's not productive. There's something I always think about. Your brain, how it problem solves and how it thinks about logic when it's in a positive state of mind versus a neutral state of mind versus a negative state of mind is completely different. How you problem solve when you're negative versus how you problem solve when you're neutral versus positive, completely different. So before you have conversations, make phone calls, take action, do your prospecting, go to whatever you're gonna do, I want you to think about your thoughts a little bit. Where am I in my head right now? And fix it if you can. Most people don't have the, what's the word? Self-awareness, thank you. To acknowledge how they feel or where they're at. Their emotions are running them, most people. And it's a normal thing. We're doing a million things all day long. Kids, clients, whatever else is going on, a million things. So I want you to put yourself in a neutral or positive mindset before you do anything. Take a step and just try to reset it. And when you get into conversations, I want you to think about that too. If I'm talking to someone, I probably want some sort of outcome for this conversation, right? I want to influence this person in some way or get them to buy or sell or agree to whatever I'm asking. Make sure they are in a neutral or positive mindset versus a negative mindset. When they are in a negative mindset, they're going to take criticism differently. They're going to argue faster. They're going to all kinds of things, right? So how you're starting conversations, how you're treating people throughout the conversation or throughout the transact, all of that. There are certain agents I've done deals with, and the minute I'm on the phone, I'm like, my blood pressure's going up. And it's just like, what is wrong? Who hurt you? You're like, what's wrong? And I guarantee they bust a disproportionate amount of deals because of how they communicate with people. So have an understanding of your effect on other people. Have an understanding of how your things are coming across, and try to influence the way they're receiving them by putting them, almost every conversation I have, I called someone the other day to bust a deal. And they knew it was coming. I knew it was coming, but we talked about our kids for like 4 minutes. Like move them into you can do things to move someone out of a negative mindset and into a neutral mindset or into a positive mindset. So be conscious of that, how people receive, because again, depending on what I got going on in my life, you give me some bad news one day and I'll address it differently than I do on another day based on where I'm at and what's happening and where my mindset's at. So understanding that controls everything. Communication takes two people. It takes someone to give the communication, and then that person has to receive the communication. And there is 100% of the time a gap there. And so it's not just delivering news, it's softening them up, it's preparing them to hear the news, having those conversations. So be aware of your effect on others in the conversation you're trying to have, and it's gonna make everyone more, not cooperative, but they're gonna be more malleable to whatever you have to say. They're gonna be more receptive, more problem solving, all that kind of stuff. Versus if you try to just steamroll or throw something at them, any conversation, negotiating wise, or anything like that, has to be had over the phone. When you're texting negotiations or texting updates or texting anything like that, you have to have that over the phone. You have to be able to hear that person's inflection in their voice, where they pause in their sentence, if they raise their voice, lower their voice. All these things tell you how they're feeling, and you can change what you're saying based on how they're receiving what you're saying. Make sense? Versus a text. Does anyone watch Key and Peele?
Yeah.
I love Key and Peele. There's this skit where two buddies are texting, and they're like, "You want to go out tonight?" This guy's like, "You want to go out tonight?" And the other guy's sitting on the couch, and he's like, "Sure." And the guy goes, "Sure."
Oh, yeah, I've seen
He's like, yeah, he's like, "Well, where do you want to go?"
What's this asshole talking?
Yeah, he's like, "Where do you want to go?" He's like, "Don't care." You don't care. And so it's like you have no idea how they're going to receive it on the other end. And so when you have that phone call, you set the tone. Always try to set the tone for the phone call, the negotiation with your client, with the other realtor, anything. And think of that, negative, neutral, and positive. Trying to make sure if they're negative, move them to neutral if you can. If they're neutral, move them to positive. They're going to be more receptive. They're going to be more creative, more problem solving, everything. But that's the biggest thing. Like I said, that stoicism mindset of real estate is Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will. And what makes a good real estate agent is how resourceful you are. Can you problem solve? And can you be the level-headed third party to navigate your client to wherever we need to go? So don't try to control everything. You can only control how you respond.
Take it personal.
And don't take it personal.
Honestly, that changed my whole career.
Yeah.
Stop taking it personal. It's not your house.
Yeah, that's
It's not
it.
your fault something's leaking.
You have to detach. Yeah, and it's not my responsibility either. That's the other thing. It's like, what are we gonna do? Here's half my commission. Like, hold on. So yeah, these are two adults. You know, treat them accordingly. They don't act like it all the time, but I think that's super.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you.
Yeah, super important. So, all right, I'll let y'all go now. I wanted to get that out.
Love it.
Good stuff.
Have a good week.
Thank you.